While most American children wait for heated school buses, Amish kids begin their day at 4:30 in the morning, preparing for journeys through -10-degree darkness. No buses, no cars, just 2 miles of frozen roads standing between them and education. This is how they survive the trip. Amish winter schooling. Amish one-room schoolhouses serve 8 grades in a single room, often positioned miles from surrounding farms. Unlike public schools that close for snow days or dangerous temperatures, Amish schools operate on a philosophy that education continues regardless of conditions. Schools close only when travel becomes genuinely impossible, not merely difficult. Horse and buggy. The most common method of transportation involves small buggies driven by the oldest capable child, often as young as 10 or 11. Preparation begins the night before harnesses checked, wheels inspected, blankets folded inside. Families place heated bricks wrapped in towels on the buggy floor, providing warmth that lasts perhaps an hour. Thick wool blankets cover children's laps, but the buggy traps cold air inside despite its enclosed sides. The journey that takes 5 minutes by car stretches to 30 or 40 minutes by buggy. Horses walk at 3 to 4 miles per hour, slower through snow or ice. Children sit largely still, unable to generate body heat through movement. Fingers and toes grow numb despite wool mittens and heavy boots. Safety concerns are real. Accident statistics from Pennsylvania and Ohio show dozens of buggy vehicle collisions each winter. Black buggies become nearly invisible during morning darkness and snowstorms, despite reflective triangles and battery-powered lights. Some Amish children have been killed during their school commutes. Walking through snow. For families within 2 miles of school, children walk regardless of weather. 6-year-old first graders walk alongside 14-year-old eighth graders in groups that form naturally. Older children assume responsibility for younger ones. These walks begin in complete darkness. Children leave home by 6 or 6:30, dressed in layers that seem inadequate, wool coats over cotton dresses for girls, dark coats over shirts for boys. No synthetic insulation, no moisture-wicking fabrics, just wool, cotton, and determination. Frostbite becomes a genuine risk when temperatures drop below zero. Most walking children have experienced some degree whitened fingers or toes, painful numbness. Parents treat these as unfortunate but unavoidable rather than emergencies. Groups develop their own protocols. They know which stretches offer windbreaks, where ice typically forms, which properties have dogs. Older children monitor younger ones for signs of hypothermia, stumbling, confusion, excessive complaints. 2 miles at 5:30 on a January morning, when temperatures hover at -5, requires an hour or longer for young children moving through snow. They arrive physically exhausted before lessons begin. The scooter tradition. Amish scooters represent a middle ground between walking and riding. These human-powered vehicles have large wheels that roll over rough terrain. Children, as young as 8, might scooter to school, covering 3 or 4 miles faster than walking. Winter scootering presents challenges. Ice patches send scooters sliding dangerously, and deep snow makes scooting impossible. Children become expert at reading conditions, knowing where packed snow offers good scooting. Some families attach wooden boxes for carrying lunch pails. Metal runners can replace wheels, creating standing sleds. Age and skill determine who scooters children begin learning around 6 or 7, becoming confident by 10 or 11. Community carpooling system. Informal carpooling arrangements operate without phones or internet. A family with a larger buggy might pick up children from neighboring farms. These arrangements often rotate. One family provides transportation for a week, then another takes over. Coordination happens through face-to-face conversations, usually Sundays after church. The system works because communities are small, and social pressure ensures commitment. Winter complicates arrangements. A scheduled family might wake to find their horse lame or buggy damaged. Heavy snow might make routes impassable, requiring families to meet at alternate locations. In rare emergencies, blizzards, ice storms, family crises, some families hire English drivers. These cost $15 to $30 per school run, reserved for true emergencies rather than convenience. The night prep. Evening preparation begins after dinner. Children lay out clothing in specific order for quick dressing in dark, cold bedrooms. Mothers inspect each outfit for tears or inadequate warmth. Lunch preparation happens the night before. Simple meals, bread with butter, hard-boiled eggs, apples get packed into metal pails. These must withstand hours of cold while providing enough calories. Morning chores get organized beforehand. Each child knows their responsibilities, gathering eggs, feeding chickens, carrying water, wake-up times, shock outsiders. Families with children walking 2 miles might wake everyone at 4:30 or 5 o'clock. The morning departure. Parents conduct final inspections, coats buttoned, scarves wrapped, mittens secured. They assess weather, sometimes making last-second decisions about additional layers. Temperatures of 0 to -10 are considered manageable. -15 to -20 might trigger discussions, though many children still travel. Only below -20 or wind chills approaching -40 reliably keep children home. The oldest child assumes genuine authority over younger siblings. Parents tell this child to make decisions about the journey, including whether to turn back or stop for help. Arriving at school. The schoolhouse itself offers only modest relief from winter's harshness. These simple one-room buildings typically contain a wood or coal stove at the center, with heat radiating outward in diminishing circles. Students arriving early huddle near the stove, thawing frozen fingers and toes while warming outer layers that have stiffened in the cold. The teacher, who arrives an hour before students to start the fire, tends the stove throughout the day, adding fuel and adjusting airflow to maintain barely adequate temperatures. Wet clothing management becomes a daily necessity. Snow-covered coats, damp mittens, and soaked boots need somewhere to dry during school hours. Most Amish schoolhouses have hooks near the stove where outer garments hang, dripping into puddles on wooden floors. The room fills with the musty smell of wet wool and the hiss of snow melting off boots placed too close to the stove's heat. Students whose clothing doesn't dry adequately face the prospect of putting on damp garments for the afternoon journey home. Horse and buggy students face the additional task of caring for their animals during school hours. Small sheds or simple shelters behind schoolhouses provide minimal protection for horses that must wait 8 hours for their young drivers to finish lessons. Students arriving by buggy must unhitch horses, ensure they have access to water, requiring breaking ice in winter, and provide hay before entering the schoolhouse. This adds 15 to 20 minutes to the morning arrival process, time that children have already lost to the long journey. The teacher's early arrival makes the entire system function. She Amish teachers are almost always young, unmarried women reaches school by 5:30 or 6 o'clock, even earlier than students with long commutes. She travels alone, often walking or scootering the same difficult routes her students will follow. Her morning responsibilities include starting the fire, preparing the room, and ensuring sufficient warmth by the time students arrive. This demanding schedule, combined with modest pay, explains why most Amish women teach for only a few years before marriage, when weather gets extreme. School closures in Amish communities follow completely different standards than public schools. While public schools might close for 3 inches of snow or wind chills approaching 0, Amish schools remain open unless conditions make travel genuinely impossible or life-threatening. The decision to close school typically rests with individual teachers or, in some communities, a school board composed of fathers from attending families. These decisions consider not just safety but also the philosophical commitment to maintaining routine regardless of difficulty. Certain weather conditions do trigger closures, though thresholds vary by region and community. Wind chills below -30 degrees might prompt closures in some districts, while others continue unless temperatures themselves drop below -20. Blizzards producing whiteout conditions generally result in closures, though not always. Some communities expect families to make individual decisions about sending children rather than closing school entirely. Ice storms that make roads impassable receive the most consistent response. Schools typically close because travel becomes impossible rather than merely dangerous. Individual families sometimes keep children home during weather events that don't trigger official closures. This decision carries social implications that differ from mainstream culture. In many Amish communities, keeping children home for weather that doesn't close school suggests weakness or insufficient preparation rather than reasonable caution. Parents who regularly keep children home during difficult weather face quiet community judgment. However, families also recognize that each farm's circumstances differ. A family living 4 miles from school faces legitimately different conditions than one living half a mile away. Communication about school closures happens through informal networks that function surprisingly well without modern technology. Teachers might send messages through families who live nearest the school, who then relay information to the next farm, and so on. Some communities designate a particular family's home as an information point. Their driveway left unplowed signals school is closed, while a plowed driveway indicates school is open. These simple systems work because everyone understands them and because communities are small enough that information spreads quickly through personal contact. The afternoon return journey. The journey home presents different challenges than the morning trip. Winter afternoons mean students leave school in daylight that's already fading, with darkness arriving well before they reach home. December and January dismissals at 3:30 occur in deepening twilight, and children on long commutes arrive home after full darkness has fallen. This timing reverses the morning visibility problem. Rather than dark buggies in pre-dawn, evening travelers navigate twilight when vehicle drivers experience reduced visibility but haven't yet turned on headlights. Fatigue compounds afternoon challenges significantly. Children who woke at 4:30 and walked 2 miles to school have already endured a full school day of lessons and minimal heat. They face the return journey with depleted energy reserves and bodies already stressed by morning cold exposure. Younger children sometimes struggle to complete the afternoon walk, requiring older siblings to carry them part of the distance or fashion sleds to pull them. This physical exhaustion doesn't excuse arriving home late. Chores await, regardless of how tired children feel. Homework carried in the cold presents practical difficulties that students must navigate. Papers can be damaged by snow or moisture. Pencils become difficult to grip with cold-numbed fingers, and books absorb dampness that warps pages. Students learn to protect homework carefully, wrapping assignments in extra cloth, tucking papers inside lunch pails, or asking older siblings to carry books in addition to their own. The consequences of damaged homework vary by teacher, but generally include needing to recopy work or facing minor punishment for carelessness. Evening chores await immediately upon arrival home. No matter how cold, tired, or miserable the journey has been, children must complete their assigned tasks before supper and homework time. Cows need milking, chickens need feeding, water needs hauling, firewood needs carrying. The Amish philosophy holds that hardship doesn't excuse shirking responsibilities. In fact, learning to fulfill duties despite difficulty builds the character that sustains people throughout life's inevitable challenges. Lessons learned from hardship. The Amish approach to children's winter travel reflects deeper philosophical commitments about character development and the purpose of hardship. These communities believe that facing difficulty builds essential qualities, resilience, self-reliance, perseverance, and faith that matter more than comfort or convenience. A child who walks 2 miles through snow to reach school learns lessons that no classroom lecture could teach about persistence, responsibility, and human capability under stress. This isn't mindless traditionalism or failure to recognize children's vulnerability. Amish parents love their children as deeply as any parents and feel genuine concern for their safety and well-being. However, their framework for assessing risk and benefit differs fundamentally from mainstream culture. They view controlled exposure to hardship as essential preparation for life rather than unnecessary danger to be eliminated. In their view, the greatest risk isn't that children might be cold or uncomfortable, but that children might grow up soft and unprepared for the genuine hardships that life inevitably brings. The community bonding that develops through shared struggle creates social cohesion that's increasingly rare in modern society. Children who travel to school together through brutal winter conditions develop relationships that last lifetimes. They've witnessed each other at vulnerable moments, helped each other through difficulties, and shared experiences that forge bonds deeper than typical childhood friendships. These relationships become the foundation for lifelong community connection that sustains Amish society. Adults who grew up making these winter school journeys speak about them with a mixture of emotions. Nobody claims to have enjoyed walking 2 miles through -10-degree weather at age 7. The memories include genuine suffering, frozen fingers, painful cold, exhaustion, and fear. Yet many also describe these experiences as formative in positive ways, teaching them capabilities they didn't know they possessed and building confidence that served them throughout life. This doesn't romanticize hardship, but acknowledges that difficulty overcome can produce growth that comfort never does.